Hey everyone, I'm back with another video, and today we are going to be talking about Wags to Riches, which is a new show on Netflix that I binge watched the other day while snowed in. Snowed in. I was here and it dropped on Netflix on the 22nd, and I actually binge watched the entire season on the first day. And so I just want to come and share with you all and break down each episode and let you know my thoughts. So this show is centered around Sherelle Rosado, who is a real estate broker and developer, and she is engaged to, well, during the show, because I'm actually in real time, they've actually broken up since. She's engaged to Chad Johnson, or Chad Ochocinco, who is a retired wide receiver in the NFL. And now he does like sports commentary, podcast host, just all around like just entrepreneur, and her group of friends. And so they are in Miami where she does real estate and she does developing. And this show is based on other women that she knows, and a lot of women that she is connected to or are connected to are wives and girlfriends of different celebrities and sports stars and things like that. So all of the women on this show are connected to a athlete or a celebrity, and we're going to meet all the ladies throughout the episode, and you learn the ups and downs, the friction, the drama. It just this show has a little bit of everything, and I really like that. I loves me a good reality show, and this one was actually really good. So this was episode one, where again you really meet the cast of characters, and you kind of learn some of the issues that they have amongst the group, because what reality show doesn't have drama. So to start off, it starts with Chad and Sherelle on the golf course. Again, Sherelle is a developer and she's a real estate broker, and she runs a real estate agency, and a lot of the ladies on this show work for her. We'll meet a few of them in episode one. So they're just being flirty on the golf course, practicing the swing, and y'all, Sherelle almost took Ojo Cinco's head off like twice. She was not very good. So yeah, so the little golf event, she almost took their head off. Poor thing. And while they're, being cute, being flirty, Alexis and Ashley pull up. So Alexis is Alexis Stoudemire, and she is the ex-wife of NBA star Amari Stoudemire, and she is also a developer, or an investor, I should say, in the cannabis industry. So that's kind of her entrepreneur endeavors. And Ashley Wheeler is married to a retired NFL player, Philip Weaver. And if you remember, if you watch reality shows, Ashley was actually on a show called WAGS Miami. I think that was on E, probably like 5 or 6 years ago. So it's been a while since that show went off. So it's probably more like 7, 8 years ago. So she was on that show. And at the time, her and Philip were dating. I don't think they were married yet, but they've since got married. They have 2 kids and just have like a beautiful family. And so while Sherelle and Chad are on the golf course, they pull up, they say, "Hey, how y'all," and then they kind of go off to themselves, and they, hit some golf balls. They too were not the best. And while they're on the course, Ashley's like, "Oh, we should play for something." And Alexa's like, "Okay, what do you want to play for?" And Ashley's like, "Ooh, let's play for a Birkin bag, because you got this green one that I've been kind of looking at." And so they're like, "Okay, so we're going to play for a Birkin." And y'all, Alexis goes to hit the golf ball and almost takes out the camera guy. It was bad, but it was cute. They were just cute. They're on the golf course. And it's really cool, because one thing that they emphasize is like business deals are made on the golf course. So it's like, yeah, it's cute to be in the boardroom making deals, but like your real deals are made out here. So they really want to emphasize that. And that's one thing I really, really like about this TV show, is that all of these ladies, they're beautiful, but not only are they beautiful and like married to these high profile men, but they are accomplished in their own right. Every single person on this show has some sort of business or does something for themselves. They are not just sitting at home spending up their men's money. They're like, nope, we're gonna have our own. So I do appreciate that about all of the women on this show. So then it goes back over to Sherelle and Chad, and then next they have Portia and her husband Antonio pull up, and so Andre, his name's Andre. So Portia and Andre pull up, and so they are married, And Andre is a boxer. So that's his connection to the sports industry. He was a welterweight champion, he was an Olympian, and now he owns a gym in the Miami area. And then Portia, again, is married to Andre, and she is a real estate agent and she works for Sherelle. So, like I said, a lot of connections to Sherelle. She's the nucleus. So she works under Sherelle at her real estate brokerage. And so the four of them are golfing and just kind of talking. And Portia realizes that Chad has on a wedding band. And so she's like, hey, did y'all get married? Like secretly, didn't tell nobody? Where's my invite? Like, what's going on? And Ocho was like, oh no. He was like, I'm wearing it to basically get used to wearing a ring. So once we get married, I'm, I'm not, it's not something new for me. It's not something I have to get used to because I will have already been wearing it. And Portia was like, you see that? And talking to her husband, like, you see this? This man's not even married and he is wearing his ring. And so her husband was like, babe, I'm a boxer. Like, I need to, like, it's going to fall off, just kind of giving his reasonings why, which are valid. And so she was like, well, we're going to get you them little plastic ones. Because she's like, you need to put a ring on too. If Chad can put one on and he's not married, then you can put one on too. So it was a really cute scene to kind of open up the series, get to know people in that way. And it was just like really fun, flirty. And it was a really like cool way to get to know some of our main characters. So the next scene, we meet Miranda, or AKA MJ, and she is a rapper and a real estate agent. Works for Sherelle. Again, kind of see, working for Sherelle, and she is going to the jewelry store with her two young children. So she has two children, a daughter and a newborn son, like baby, 2 under 2, and they're going to the jewelry store to get the baby some jewelry because she says she has a piece, her daughter has a piece, so she needs baby boy to have one too. So they end up getting him like a 30 carat Cuban link necklace. It's like several $1,000s. I think the deposit was $35,000. And she was just like, all right, cool, run it. And so we meet her. She's a young mom. She's 22. And so we learn a little bit about her story. And she's actually dating Kodak Black. And they share a child. I'm not sure if both children, he's a dad to both children, but definitely the newborn. They share a child or children. And so she goes into a little bit about how they met. She said that she was a really big fan of his music when she was in like middle and high school. He was kind of like her celebrity crush. And they met at one of his concerts. And then when they like started following each other on social media, and basically when she became of age, turned 18, he slid in the DMs, and that's kind of how they met. And so they've been together. Again, they share a child, and they kind of have a rocky relationship. As we go through the episodes, you kind of learn the kind of ups and downs that they have with him being a rapper and being well known and things like that, and some of the drama. So she's kind of, she's got a lot on her plate. Again, being a mom of two at 22, she's a rapper. She's in real estate. She's doing a lot. And so we meet her. And then in the next scene, we meet Stony. So Stony is, she shares an adult child with the rapper Rick Ross. Their daughter is 22 years old, and they've actually been split up for 20 years since the adult was 2. And so she is meeting up with Alexis for lunch. And so when they meet up, Alexis is like, hey, why didn't you come to the golf event? And Stony was like, I wasn't invited. And Alexis was like, oh, she's like, well, why don't you think the other ladies are warming up to you? And she's like, honestly, I don't know. She's like, it's very cliquey in this group of women, and no one is really giving me a chance and really getting to know me. And she said that the only person that she's really close to, or how she was introduced to this group, is through MJ. So her and MJ have been friends for a few years. And again, MJ works with Sherelle and is part of the group, but they are not giving Stony a really fair chance. And Alexis kind of said it, or maybe it might have been Portia, said it earlier in the episode. Sherelle kind of determines who's in and who's out in this group. And if Sherelle says you're out, then you're kind of out. And as we learn, and we'll learn later, talk about later in the episode, Sherelle is not really a fan of Stony. And the reason kind of behind it is kind of like, you just kind of, we'll get there. But anyway, So Stony and Alexis are at lunch and just kind of talking and getting to know each other. And this is what I really appreciate about Alexis, because Alexis is that friend or that person who can kind of go is she kind of gets along with everybody. She doesn't have an issue with anybody. She gives everybody a fair chance, which I appreciate, because it can be hard being the friend that gets along with everybody because you might feel like you have to choose a side. And Alexis is like, look, we're grown, we're all bosses, we're all doing our thing. I don't see a reason why we can't all get along and like give people a fair chance. And even when I appreciate that, even when Stony is not around, Alexis is still like, hey, she's a good person, she's sweet, let's give her a chance. Because it can be rare that like a person doesn't kind of waver to the crowd, which is kind of sad as adults. But Alexis is like, no, I like her. Every interaction I've had with her is positive. Let's give her a chance. And so when Stony and Alexis are talking, they talk about how although Stony hasn't been with Rick Ross in about 20 years, she still lives in a house that he owns. And that can come off as intimidating to men, and she's trying to date and kind of put herself out there. But knowing that kind of intimidates other men, and she said that she feels like she's kind of almost in like a luxury prison because she's still connected to her child's father, all these years later. Um, and then they go into the scandal. So after Stony and Rick broke up, Stony, was in a relationship with somebody else, and they ended up breaking up. And when that happened, that was right around the same time that Rick Ross and 50 Cent were having like a really big feud in the public. And so Stony and her ex hadn't, made a feature film. And the ex being, upset about the breakup and just kind of bitter, he sold it to 50, and 50 put it on the internet. So Stony actually ended up suing 50 Cent, and she won. So she won a big settlement, because that's the revenge king. You can't do that. And so that with that settlement, she started her business and done some other things with her money. And we kind of learned later in the episode, one of Sherelle's issues with Stony is that she didn't use that money to kind of get from under 50 Cent, because Sherelle is big about not depending on a man. And like later in the series, you learn kind of her reasoning behind it, kind of her own issues and the things that she experienced when she was married in her other marriages. And like now she is all about women having their own and doing for themselves. And so she kind of looks, not kind of, she looks down on Stony, excuse me. She looks down on Stony because Stony has not completely broken free of Rick Ross and his money, and feels like she still depends on him, seeing that she still lives in his house and that she had this money, and like you kind of, in her opinion, and in Sherelle's opinion, she kind of wasted the money and kind of blew it. So that kind of happens. And so when Stony is still at lunch with Alexis, even though this incident with 50 Cent happened years ago, it's still negatively impacting her and her mental health. She feels like she's still judged for it, and she feels it's possibly the reason why these other ladies aren't being given her a fair shot and not trying to get to know her. And she's right, and she is right, and we will learn that towards the end of the episode, um, at Portia's party. So the next scene, we have a pool party at Ashley's house, and Ashley invites over Alexis, Sherelle, and Portia. Before we get to the pool party, first of all, let's talk about how beautiful Ashley's house is. It is gorgeous. It is so beautiful. It's just, I love like real estate and looking at houses, and this house is chef's kiss. So she has, the house, the pool, she has the chef making them appetizers. So her and the girls are in their cute little outfits. They're enjoying drinks, they're enjoying food, they're just having a time. So they're there and they're just kind of catching up, talking about what's going on. And so while they're at the pool party, Portia is sharing that she has a showing coming up in Miami, because Portia kind of goes between, she was from Tampa and now she's in the Miami area and she's building up her clientele. And she shares that the client it's a possible really big commission. It's in a really exclusive neighborhood that they're looking in an area. And so everyone's like, okay, like, bigging her up, encouraging her. And then she mentions that the client is Stony, that Stony has reached out to her to look for a property. And so, who is it? Ashley was like, oh, do you have proof of funds? Throwing a little shade out there that like she might not have this money. And then on top of that, so her kind of being shady with that little comment about proof of funds, but then Sherelle bringing up the feature film along with Escort and kind of the rumors that are about Stony, because Sherelle is like, yeah, every time I hear about Stony, it's all of these negative things are said about her. And they're like, well, what's being said? Like, what's the rumors? And they're like, oh, two things that come up are that film and that she's an escort. And like, Terrell, like, come on. And so Ashley was like, oh, I never heard about that. So Ashley starts the Googling and she sees it and she's like, oh, okay, like, wow. And then again, shout out to Alexis, because Alexis is like, y'all, I've met with her. She's really nice. Let's give her a chance. Um, it was a revenge situation. She didn't put it out there. Let's give her a chance. Every interaction I've had with her has been very pleasant. Um, she's cool. She's good people. And so Ashley was like, all right, well, if Alexis is vouching for her, then it must be true, because again, Alexis tends to be a very good judge of character. And Portia in her confessional is like, look, I don't care what she got to get this money. If you got it, then let's get you a house. Let's make this coin, okay? And I'm with Portia. Like, I don't care. Do what you got to do. Let's go. And one thing that Sherelle says that again kind of gives kind of like your mean girl, like really judgy. She said, if I can't benefit from you, I'm not around you. Sherelle, girl, I liked you, because I liked you from your last show on Netflix. But I'm like, girl, you kind of, you're giving mean girl. You're giving bully a little bit. And I don't like saying that. I don't like that. But it very much throughout, I will say throughout the entire season, it's giving mean girl. It's very much giving bully. It's very much giving, those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Like, you know what I mean? Because if, all of these ladies are in the spotlight and a lot of them have, maybe had some things said about them in the blogs. And that's where Sherelle is kind of basing her information on Stony, which isn't fair because blogs get things wrong. Blogs have said things about Sherelle. Blogs have said things about Chano Jozingo. If you know, you know. So it's like, don't just judge somebody based off what the blogs say, because the blogs are going to say whatever they have to get people to their websites. So just not fair. And then so yeah, it was just kind of like, oh, that was my first like, Sherelle, you're not being cool about this one. Like, don't be mean. Like, it's very much, like I said, it's very much giving mean girl, queen bee, you can't sit with us vibes. And it's going to continue almost the entire season. So, anyway, so that was kind of the scene at the pool party. Again, just not giving Stony a fair shot, everyone except Alexis. So, next we have Sherelle and MJ meeting up for a play date. And I don't know if I said it earlier, but MJ works for Sherelle because she's also a real estate agent. So she works at Sherelle's brokerage. And when they sit down, they're really kind of catching up and talking about MJ's relationship with Kodak, because they've had some ups and downs. And it seems like her personal relationships are kind of impacting her professionally, because MJ is a relatively new real estate agent. And when things kind of go sour with Kodak, it seems like she kind of shuts the world off. And as a real estate agent, you're going to have clients that need to get to you all times of day and night, and you got to answer your phone. And so, one of the things Sherelle was saying is that MJ is really hard to get a hold of because she'll try to call her and she won't answer. So one example, in one scene they kind of flash to is Sherelle's at a dealership because MJ, went Jasmine Sullivan on Kodak's cars because he was, talking to other women, and she smashed his car windows. And so to make up for it, she wanted to buy him another car to, make up for it. And so Sherelle was going to go with her, and she tried to reach out to MJ, and MJ wasn't answering the phone. And so Sherelle was like, "Hey, you're not only doing this with me, but you're also doing this with your clients, and that's not good because you have your clients calling me saying, 'Hey, I can't get MJ.'" And we know that real estate, it's about reputation, it's word of mouth, it's a lot of referrals, and if your reputation professionally is negative, then that's bad for business. And so Sherelle's trying to talk to her, even suggesting that she goes to therapy so that she can kind of work through some of these things because clearly this relationship with Kodak is having a negative impact. And so MJ is like, "I don't need therapy," which is sadly a it's kind of still a common answer in our community because people still don't understand the benefits of therapy, or that we come from a history of like, we don't tell people our business. We just kind of push through and get through it. But y'all, if you need therapy, there's nothing wrong with therapy. It's great. Try it. It really it helps to get it out because clearly MJ has some issues that she needs some support with. And so it she needs it. And so her and Sherelle's trying to give her some big sisterly mentor type advice. She ain't gonna take it. She is not gonna take the advice, unfortunately. And we'll see at the end of the episode kind of what happens. So yeah, her relationship with Kodak is very tumultuous. It's very up and down. It's a roller coaster, and the personal is leaking over to the professional. So next and last, the last big scene, we have Portia hosting kind of like a cocktail hour, cocktail party, because again, she's kind of newer to Miami, so she wants to kind of get everybody together, and so everyone kind of gets to know each other and just kind of vibe and hang out and just have a good time. So at this party, we see of course Alexis, Sherelle, and Ashley, but then we meet a few other ladies. Sade, who is a swimwear designer, and she is engaged to Robbie Chosen, who played for the Dolphins and I believe now is a free agent. We meet Keita Hill, who is the wife of Tariq Hill, who plays for the Dolphins, and she works in the tech industry. And then we also meet Jules, who was engaged to Duke Riley, and she kind of does a little bit of everything. It seems like she does like event planning, she's done like PR, marketing, and things like that. And she worked for Kanye West for the Yeezy brand. And when the show came out, or when they were filming, she I guess literally just like got fired and got publicly fired by Kanye. So that's kind of her claim to fame, I guess. And so we meet these ladies. So everyone just kind of kicking in, and it was really great because not only did the ladies come, but their men came as well. So Ashley's husband wasn't there, but Portia's husband was there. We Sade's fiance was there, Keita's husband, so they were all there supporting. Chad wasn't there because he was doing an episode of Nightcap, which is his podcast with Shannon Sharp, but they FaceTimed him. And even Amari Stoudemire, so that's Alexis's ex-husband, even he showed up to show support. So I really appreciated and enjoyed that because it showed that they have the support of the people in their lives. And even the men were talking about how great it is that these women, like, yeah, they could just kind of be sitting back relaxing, but these women are, entrepreneurs. They're on the grind. They're showing that they can do it too. So they're being examples to our children. And it's like they're not just resting on what we've done, but they want to do something for themselves, which I agree. I think that's really great that these women, yeah, they could just be sitting pretty, just spending money, just going on trips and doing things like that. But the fact that these women want to build their own empires outside of their men just is amazing. That's one of the reasons I really like this show. So they're all just kind of hanging out, talking and things like that. So while they're at the party, Jules is talking to Ashley and Alexis, and she like looks at her phone and is like, "Oh my god!" And they're like, "Well, what's going on?" And so Jules is like, "Kanye is like he just put me in this large group text, and we haven't spoken in months since basically he fired her." And so she was explaining that in the message in the group chat, Kanye was explaining that this person that worked for him is, trying to put out, business, like personal business and things like that that can really like negatively impact the brand. And so in the message, he was like, I'm bringing the people that I think really care about me and aren't just here for like my money that could possibly help or whatever. And so Jules didn't know what to do. Didn't She was like, what do I say? What do I like? How do I respond to this? And Ashley was like, look, don't say nothing until he's got your money. She was like, look, tell him, look, give me my money and that's it. Like, that's all I need. Because I guess he was like holding off on her like last few paychecks or whatever. And so then Jules gets called over to another group. And so then it just kind of leaves Alexis and Ashley. And Ashley is like, do you believe what she's saying? And so Alexis was like, yeah. And like I said, I really like Alexis. She kind of sees the good in everybody. And you need that person in the group. And Ashley is like, well, Jules doesn't have the best reputation. She's had these fallouts and she always seems to be the victim and it always seems to be something and it's never her. So Ashley is kind of like, I got my good eye on sis because something in the water ain't clean. Like something is not right. So Ashley is kind of a little suspicious and as we go through the series, we'll kind of learn a little bit more about that. So all of that, they're talking, everyone's just kind of hanging out, and then Stoney arrives. So Portia did invite Stoney to the party, and so you can see immediately that Sherelle is kind of turning her face up when she sees Stoney. And so everyone is kind of talking, chilling, having a good time, and they're in a group, kind of talking about honestly, they're talking about Stoney and they're talking about how she doesn't have a positive reputation and how the things that Cheryl's heard about the escort and the feature film. And so then Stoney comes over and is like, well, what are y'all talking about? Because then that turns into a discussion of, well, have you ever like, pictures or videos or whatever? And everyone's like, yeah, of course I have. Of course I have. And that's when Stoney walks over and is like, hey, what are y'all talking about? And Jules is like, oh, we're talking about like films and things like that. And so, and then Cheryl basically tells her, well, I don't get along with you. I don't like you because of your reputation and you're an escort and, off your feature film. And she's like, well, first of all, not an escort. And, basically you're not giving me a chance. You are going by what you hear, what you've read, and you haven't talked to me. You haven't asked me. You're just going based off rumors and blogs. And so then they kind of go off to have a private conversation, Stoney and Sherelle. And Sherelle is, Stoney is basically like, you're not giving me a fair chance. I feel very judged. I feel, again, that you're just not giving me a fair shake. And Sherelle's like, well, that's not it. I'm not judging you. It's like, yeah, you are. Like, y'all, it was so much judgment, like, from the beginning. It's like she doesn't know this girl, and it's not fair. And so nothing really gets resolved in the conversation. Um, when they get back over to the group, it's like, oh, have y'all kumbaya? And Cheryl's like, no, there's no kumbaya. And basically that's when Stoney leaves. And so just there's no resolve there. And we're gonna see throughout the season that this comes back up and it's gonna be a continual like theme throughout the season. So then last scene of the episode, we get to Stoney's boutique. So she owns a clothing boutique in Miami and she was sharing how, being, who she is and connected to who she is, that she does not feel supported in her business. She said that being an entrepreneur is very tough and that her friends, like, she thought her friends would be more supportive, but she sees that her friends shop at other boutiques and these are no longer who she considers her friends, which is fair. Which is sad because, we tend to we tend to hope or we tend to want the people closest to us to be our biggest supporters, but unfortunately a lot of times it is strangers and kind of sucks, but So that's definitely something I can relate to Stony. It's like, you want the people around you to be supportive, but oftentimes it's strangers or people that you aren't as close to that are a little more supportive than those that you felt like would be. So, so she has her customer and things like that. And then the last scene, she picks up her phone and she like gasps. And Lord, it's like an article or a video of MJ trying to fight another woman. And then we see a mugshot. And that is the end of episode 1. So, y'all, this episode was so good. Like I said, I actually binged the entire season in one day. Um, it's full of drama. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got the drama. It's got the entrepreneurship. It's got the black love. It's got your women. The natural dramas and things we have as women, and it has conflict. It's gonna have some resolutions and all the things. So if you have not watched, please, please, please check it out. Again, it's Wags to Riches on Netflix. The entire season's out. So it's a quick binge, few hours. So that is it for episode 1. Again, I really enjoyed it. And I've already seen all the episodes, but I'll be back with another recap. So check it out. Check it. Let me know what you think. If you've seen it already, let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and I will catch you in the next video. Later.